Everything Everywhere All at Once is a sci-fi comedy action film that features Evelyn Wang, a dissatisfied laundromat owner who gets pulled into the multiverse because someone named Jobu Tupaki is after her. Jobu Tupaki's mind was fractured, and she is now forced to experience all the universes at once, all of the time. This is what makes a seemingly lighthearted, turn-off-the-brain action movie premise into something much more complicated and real. More and more surveys and papers tell us that teen depression has been steadily higher in Gen Z than in other generations. Everything Everywhere All at Once shows us how the presence of the internet could be the important difference between Gen Z and the other generations that contributes to these numbers. And it also allows us to view that gap from the perspective of a mother who doesn't understand what her daughter is experiencing and who struggles with open communication, the latter most likely due to her own parents. The first time we see Evelyn's daughter Joy, apart from the quick opening, we find her staring somberly into a dryer. We also get a first glimpse at Joy and Evelyn's relationship, the main conflict of the film.
Hey, Mom, I only cook enough food for 3 people. Now I'll have to cook more.
We are then shown that Evelyn still struggles with the gender of Joy's partner, as well as her race, and that she puts it on her father's intolerance and not her own. This hints quite a bit at Evelyn's own upbringing. The entire first scene is Joy following her mother around trying to talk to her about this, but continuously being ignored in favor of other tasks. We also find out that Evelyn thinks quite lowly of her husband Wayman. It is good to note that Wayman enjoys putting googly eyes on things, which can be associated with him throughout the film. When Joy gives up on her mother and leaves, Evelyn stops her and tries to express her feelings. And fails to.
You are getting fat.
After the introduction of the characters and driving conflicts, we meet Alpha Waymond, a different version of Evelyn's husband who has come to teach this Evelyn how to verse jump, which is basically a way for one to access skills that other versions of themselves have in other universes. Later, we find out that Jobu Tupaki is actually her daughter Joy, whom Alpha Evelyn had pushed so far into verse jumping that her mind shattered and she is forced to experience everything everywhere all at once, always, creating Jobu Tupaki. Here is where the multiverse can be seen as an allegory for the internet. The internet allows us to be anywhere at any time, like Jobu Tupaki, and so we see the difference between Gen Z and the other generations. Growing up with an online, Gen Z grew up having the world in their hands, causing their lives to be so intertwined with the internet that it's become nearly impossible to go offline. This is what Jobu Tupaki struggles with. When you can see anything at any time, anywhere, then what does anything matter? Especially when you're young and trying to view yourself as an individual, knowing everything that is out there and being able to access it makes it hard to view your own day-to-day as important or even just mattering. Not even to mention that the constant onslaught of information and virtual attention seekers can be extremely overwhelming. All of this leads to the horrid revelation that Joy is considering suicide. We find out that she has created the bagel, which is everything collapsed in on itself, or plot-wise, it's the suicide pill. When Evelyn fractures her mind like Jobu Tupaki, she comes to the same conclusion as her daughter.
Nothing matters.
But just as they're both about to use the bagel, Evelyn finds herself surprised by her husband Waymond. He manages to get Evelyn out of a tough situation by being kind and communicating openly. Evelyn, inspired by her husband's positivity, Waymond's googly eye being the inverse of the bagel, decides not to go into the bagel with Jobu Tupaki. Then, in the climax of the film, Evelyn tries to stop her daughter's suicide, cultivating in an emotional moment where Joy begs her mother,
"Just let me go."
We find ourselves back in the same parking lot we saw in Act 1, and here we get to see Evelyn's character development, because this time Evelyn is able to express her care and love for her daughter as well as an understanding of what Joy is going through.
Here, all we get are a few specks of time where any of this actually makes any sense.
Then I will cherish these few specks of time.